With the death of Professor Rinai, the students from École du Ciel experienced what war was really like for the first time. But things were only going to get worse. In today's episode of Gundam Lore, we'll have a look at the disastrous finale to École du Ciel's quest for Newtypes. And for those who didn't see the previous episodes, I'll have a link on screen and down below. After Professor Rinai's burial, Asuna went to check up on the wounded Shin. He was getting better, but in space, bones took longer to heal, so he would still be bedridden for a while. But he was still happy to see Asuna. After all, without her, things would have been a lot worse for him. Asuna, on the other hand, saw it in a completely different way. For starters, she wasn't able to fire at the enemy when it counted the most. Shin immediately brushed this off and said that instead, he would be the one protecting her. But then she told him the other reason why she felt responsible for everything. The pilot of the Kämpfer, the one who killed Professor Rinai and wounded Shin, was an old friend of hers. Shin was understandably surprised, but he told her not to tell anyone else about it, and reaffirmed that he would be the one to protect her. However, it would only be a short moment of relief for Asuna. The training would soon commence again, and the pirates would also soon carry out the final stage of the plan that they were paid to follow. And so, during their next training, an unidentified vessel entered their airspace, and because it wasn't responding to their hails, Yahagi and his team were sent to inspect it. But as soon as they got close to it, it blew up, scattering a cloud of Minovsky particles everywhere. Captain Farah immediately put everyone on combat alert, with Forma cracking a little smile in the background. Everything was going according to plan, even when the first Salamis went down in flames only seconds after the battle had begun, and the carnage was only going to get worse. With Minovsky particles flooding the battlefield and the pirates' surprise attack, not all students were able to get back to their ship, and they were forced into the battle as well. Amongst them were instructor Yahagi, Alicia, Asuna, and another student named Kerry. But despite the dire situation, Alicia and Kerry did a good job of backing up Yahagi, and Alicia even managed to take out one of the pirates. Unfortunately, another Zaku hit her from behind and damaged her controls, but she was in turn saved by Yahagi. And for the moment, there were no more enemies in their immediate vicinity. This allowed Alicia to get out of her damaged gym and enter Yahagi's double-seater gym. They also tried contacting Asuna, who'd gone missing, but she didn't respond. She was paralyzed by all the sounds of the battlefield, and most of all of the cries for help. Given the situation, they decided to leave her and went to help the other students on the battlefield. And when they returned to the bloodbath, Kerry almost became part of it. Yahagi was able to activate the synchro mode just in time, so that only the leg of his gym was blown off. But they weren't in the clear just yet. The shot was fired by the Kämpfer, and now its pilot knew exactly who to target first. When he was about to shoot down Kerry's unit for good, another gym rammed him and was immediately destroyed. Fortunately, this wasn't a piloted gym. Instead, Alicia had activated the synchro mode to remote control her damaged gym, and with Kerry now having a nervous breakdown, she switched to controlling his unit instead. Back at the ship, Forma had given the command for all students to launch and fight as well. Everything was going according to plan. Except for one thing. Their top new type candidate Asuna was still paralyzed in her cockpit, but one person decided to come to her aid, the wounded Shin. Perhaps it was a coincidence, or perhaps he had a new type connection, but sensing her fear, he launched in a gym and went to aid Yahagi and Alicia in taking out the Kämpfer, the ghost from Asuna's past that continued to haunt her. Unfortunately, even with 3 versus 1, the Kämpfer was no pushover, and just when they thought they almost had him, the Kämpfer almost killed Shin instead. The intensity of their battle also reached Asuna, who was now finally pushed into action. Despite the cries of help still echoing in her head, she had to go. If she didn't, she would fail Shin again. She threw away her shield to grab another beam rifle and headed towards the battlefield. 3 Salamis class cruisers had been destroyed, along with countless crew members and pilots killed. But they finally did it. École du Ciel had their awakened new type. In an instant, she took out 4 Zakus, but even new types have their limits. By the time she made it to Shin and the rest, Shin's unit had already been severely damaged, and Kerry was killed. Without time to think, she immediately engaged the Kämpfer, much to the shock of Yahagi, Alicia, and Shin. After all, in their eyes, she was still the same bumbling Asuna, unfit for combat. As a result, Shin charged at the Kämpfer, determined to protect his Asuna, only to meet his untimely demise. At the same time, the last remaining Salamis was sunk, signaling the end of the pirates' mission and their withdrawal. A few seconds was all that made the difference for Shin and Asuna. For Forma and École de Ciel, on the other hand, the mission was a complete success. Even though it was costly, they got their Newtypes, an A+ rank, an A rank, and a dozen of B ranks. But after all that effort, they wouldn't have their A+ rank for long. After the mission, the details were revealed to the students. Asuna blamed herself for everything, and unable to cope with it, she ran away. And that was all for this episode of Gundam Lore, the end of the first part of the École du Ciel manga. And this is another one of those take it as you want for your own headcanon kind of episodes. Overall, it's a very interesting idea to have this kind of false flag operation to lure out Newtypes, but the power balance felt quite off to me. The Federation had 4 Salamis Kai class ships outfitted with Gym 2s, and then an additional anti-attempt class with a lot of training gyms, versus a single Pazak class with mostly 1-year war Zakus and Rigdoms. While I can understand Gym 2s getting curb stomped by something brand new like the Rig Diaz, the Gym 2 was actually a more than competent machine that was on the same level as a Hyzak, and definitely superior to what the pirates were using, except for maybe a Gelgook and a Kempfer depending on how you're looking at it. Personally, I feel that a Pyrrhic victory for the Federation here would have been a lot better. Also, when you think about the plan that they had for this thing, it's kinda ridiculous. Essentially, they went up to the pirates, told them to destroy everything except for one single ship that then couldn't defend itself, and then they just wanted the pirates to leave out of the goodness of their heart. Because just the same, the pirates could have just disregarded the whole plan entirely, wipe out everyone, and then just grab the spoils they want from the battlefield, you know, after everyone is gone. That is a lot of faith that they were putting in those pirates. So it would make so much more sense if they had some kind of contingency plan. Either they were planning to just straight up defeat the pirates, or they had some kind of trap plan that they could get rid of the pirates and also get their battlefield situation that would force the students into real combat, therefore awakening the Newtypes that they so desperately wanted. Another issue is again the sync remote that allows for remote control of a student's machine. Last time, maybe there weren't that many Minovsky particles around and, you know, they could pull it off, but this time, the battlefield was flooded with them. Even if this training unit had some kind of special transmission system, it would simply break the established rules of UC. Only Newtype or wire-guided weapons are supposed to be able to do this. Period. And then my last complaint is about what happens after the events that I discussed. And despite my complaints, I still think this is overall a very good manga, but I already talked about all of the good points in the previous 2 videos. So what happens after she runs away is, she gets captured by Zeon pirates, fair enough, but she was able to escape from the Federation pretty easily. She just hopped into her gym and flew off. They just went through all that trouble to find their Newtype, and they just let her walk away. I would expect that there would be some kind of either precaution or that they would try to chase after her. Sure, a lot of their gyms were also damaged, but still. And then after she gets captured, she basically develops Stockholm Syndrome for the pirates. You know, the folks responsible for killing her kinda not boyfriend. Basically, I can only think of 2 reasons that she would get buddy-buddy with the pirates. 1, they want to show that Zeon are good guys as well, so they have Asuna become friends with them. And 2, plot convenience because they want her to end up with the Ayuk one way or another, and that's the best way they could think of. So yeah, I won't really be covering anything from when she's with the Zeon pirates, but there are some cool events when she's with the Ayuk, like the testing of the Gundam Mark II, so I will probably be covering those in the future. So be sure to stay tuned for that. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.